Although it's a great team, we have excellent players. They all play on big clubs. It lacked a little bit of that American spirit, right? And I think Luna had that. And Luna helped Pochettino bring that back. And I think by not selecting him to this roster, he was not as loyal to Luna as Luna was to him.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Inside American Soccer. I am USMNT insider Tom Bogert, and I am joined by one of the greatest players in U.S. soccer history, veteran of 3 World Cups, my friend, Tab Ramos. Tab, we got a big show today. The United States official roster reveal is coming on Tuesday in New York City, but that didn't stop us from getting to find out the whole 26-man roster. Reporting from myself and Paul Tenorio, as well as the Guardians, Jeff Reuter and Pablo Maurer, means that we have the 26 players who have been informed they have made the squad and the rest who did not. Tab, we didn't have to wait for the roster. How are you feeling?
I'm pretty good, and we've been waiting for this for a long time. I'm glad it's finally here, but I have to say, I keep reading all these articles about how the Guardian found this out, and knowing how I know you, listen, I know at the end of the day, you and Paul did all the work, and I know you were the first. So whatever credit anybody else is getting, the Guardian or whoever else, they can say whatever they want, but I know that you were the guy that found out who the roster was. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so not to gotta try to be vague here to protect sources, but to be clear, Paul and I know Jeff and Pablo too, I know that they did the same thing. I can't tell you how many people I called, right? This wasn't from one person or 2 people or 3 people. This is sources and relationships built up over a long time, and you keep piecing together, you keep asking the questions, and you keep on reporting it out. It's not as if we just saw a list and was like, all right, cool, copy and paste. It was a painstaking process to go through to make sure every detail was right and everything was as perfect as it could be, because if you get one small thing wrong, man, it's not something that we can live with. And that's also why, we've been careful with the framing as well. Even after Tuesday night, that doesn't bind the United States. You can still, the official roster does not need to be submitted until June 1st. Now, the only thing I could see happening is injuries, right? For that to change. But to be clear, and all of the roster reveals for all of the World Cup teams that have happened already, nothing is set in stone until June 1st. So just legality purposes, and if they wanted to make a change last minute. But yeah, this is not something that was handed to us. This was not something that was handed to my pals at the Guardian, right? This was painstaking and difficult reporting.
I'll say this. So obviously there's a lot of work on your part. I assume 40, 50 calls at least that you calling people all the time, because I know that's what you do. But that's the only way to do it, really, right? You have to get the information. Now, I will say this too, there's something to say about, and I don't know if you saw this, but Spain released this roster just sort of like Brazil did it too. And I saw a video of Gavi, right, finding out that he made it. And I think they gave Lamine Yamal the credit for recording Gavi, finding out that he made the World Cup team. And if you saw his face, he's kind of crying. He's so happy. The teammates are clapping for him. Why do we not have that? Why don't we do it that way? Why do the players have to know before there is an actual announcement? Because there's something to that. And maybe just me, because, obviously I love the game so much, but I think it would have been nice to live that with the players, right? What about you have cameras everywhere, almost like an NFL draft, right? You have the cameras of the players, honestly. And now you find out, hey, you made the team. And this is because, Tom, I have to say, going to a World Cup, there's been many great players in U.S. soccer and in other countries, obviously, but making it to a World Cup is not easy. A lot of things have to add up for you to make it at that time. Not only do you have to be a great player, top 20 in your country or whatever, but you have to be in good shape at the moment. You have to be playing well. So many things have to be going and in place for you to make it. And I think it's such a special moment that I feel for the players that kind of just found out by getting an email or a phone call. I'll just say that.
So that's the thing. So the reason why the U.S. didn't do it like this, it's overly choreographed. All 26, everybody but Richards, because Chris Richards is hopefully playing for Crystal Palace this week in the Conference League final. All the players who are or either their season is done or MLS is taking a break, they'll be in New York City for this announcement. I just think it's overly choreographed, and that's fine. You make that decision. but you run the risk of this exact thing happening. I think that it would be naive if U.S. Soccer did not expect this to come out. And like, again, if people aren't, some people aren't thrilled, most people understand and most people were excited by it. But I got a few comments of like, F you, like, why did you ruin this moment? All right, well, if it wasn't me, it was going to be The Guardian. And if it wasn't The Guardian, it would have been another one of the excellent journalists covering this team. And if it wasn't one of us, it would have been somebody on social media, because we've seen that happen before. So, it's part of the job. I get it. Like, I don't love doing like roster news or whatever, but again, if it wasn't me, if it wasn't The Guardian, if it wasn't Paul Tenori, it was going to be somebody else. And the only, like, I thought that it was cool too, like finding out that way for all the players at one time. The only thing is like, I don't know if you saw, there was a video of Joao Pedro, was expecting to make the Brazil roster, had one of those like little parties that was expecting to hear his name called, and it wasn't. I have not been able to watch the video. I have no interest in watching the video of him being heartbroken, right? But that is the only way. All of that being said, though, what I can report is it's not as if the coaching staff was giving a personal touch and calling all of these guys. At 1 p.m. on Friday, the 55 players in the preliminary roster got an email. 26 of them, their dreams came true. It said, you're going to the World Cup. The rest of them was, you have not made the final roster. They didn't get a phone call. They didn't get an explanation. And again, if that's how you want to do it, whatever, that's fine. I'd probably disagree with it. But like, then you could have done a thing where everybody found out kind of at the same time, and you wouldn't have to worry about this getting reported out. But I mean, it's delicate. I get it on both sides. It's just, listen, if you want to overly choreograph the event, people are going to find out. And it is what it is. It's our job. It's my job. And now let's talk about that roster. So Tab, I'm gonna just list off the 26, and to the listeners, we're gonna say it a bunch of times on the show. So if you miss it here, you don't have to rewind. We're gonna reset the roster as many times as possible. But I just want to set the table before, Tab, we go into your biggest surprises, whether that's inclusions or omissions. Starting at goalkeepers: Matt Freese, Matt Turner, Chris Brady. Center backs: Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, Miles Robinson. Wingbacks, fullbacks: Anthony Robinson, Serginho Dest, Alex Freeman, Joe Scally, Max Arfston. Deeper midfielders: Tyler Adams, Weston McKinney, Christian Roldan, Sebastian Berhalter. Attacking midfielders / wingers: Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, Malik Tillman, Gio Reyna, Brendan Aronson, Alex Sendejas. Center forwards: Flo Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Haji Wright. The biggest omissions are Diego Luna, Tanner Tessmann, and Aidan Morris. So, Tab, what was the most surprising thing for you, whether it was omissions or inclusions?
Well, I'll start by saying first that I'm really happy for the guys that made the team. Obviously, it's a huge moment for them. For most players, is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I know that exactly half the roster, 13 of them participated in the last World Cup. So half of them are coming back, but for 13 of them, it's the first opportunity to participate. So I'll say that it's a great honor, and congratulations to them. In terms of what I see here, I'll also say this: I don't see anyone on the roster that doesn't belong there. Right. So I'll start with that, because I think all the players who are there are deserving. I mean, can you potentially say, well, Gio Reyna hasn't played enough? Is that deserving of a position? I think it is, because I think he's proven on and off that he's a little bit different. But here's where I'm going to go with this roster. Number one is I think that it's sort of easy to tell that we are going to play with 3 center backs. Because you don't.
They better at this point.
We have 10 defenders on this roster, and potentially you can say that 11 if you consider that Weah played the last window as outside back. That would make it 11. Yeah. Right. The other thing that really sort of draws my attention, there's 3 things. The second one is the outside back overload. Right. So many of them. Right. There's potentially, and again, both Scally and Alex Freeman are deserving of making this team, but I just didn't see in what world that could happen. I just don't see it. Yeah. I think it's a repetitive. I think they both can play both positions, and they're both not starters in either position, likely, right? So that's the second one. And then the last one, I have to tell you, I don't see where, if you're not going to have a deep central midfield as we planned, I don't see where you pick Cristian Roldan and Sebastian Berhalter ahead of Tanner Tessmann and Aidan Morris. I just don't see that. And by the way, they're all deserving of going, but if you're going to have depth, then okay, of course, Roldan is your guy. Of course, Berhalter is your guy because he deserves it. But I don't see that in a world where Tessmann is not there, Morris is not there, and Johnny Cardoso's injured. I didn't see that coming.
Tab, we can go back to previous episodes. How many times did you or I have Tanner Tessmann in our strongest 11 for this team? The question was, is he going to start? Not, is he going to be on the roster? I was really shocked by that one. So I think I would start with that. But the defenders, right? It's too many. So they better be playing with 3 center backs, because if not, you took too many. If Chris, sources tell me Chris Richards there is not a question, unless that he plays on Wednesday and gets re-injured. If a new thing happens, that's the only way that his status or his availability is in doubt. That he is going to be fine for the World Cup. And again, the first game is on June 12th. We got some time.
And as you said, you have until June 1 to replace him. So if he were to get hurt in the final, you could still bring someone else.
And if he's available as expected, he's playing every minute, unless there's a injury, suspension, right? Mark McKenzie, if he's your starter, like, he could play every minute. Tim Ream, same thing. So you have 5 natural center backs: Richards, Ream, McKenzie, Trusty, Robinson. In a back 3, Alex Freeman and Joe Scally can play there. In fact, Joe Scally in a back 3 is not a wing back. He's a outside center back or stay-at-home fullback. That's how his game is. And again, I'm good with him being there. But I view him more as a 6th center back than a 5th wing back. But either way, right? Like, either way, it's too many. You didn't need a 5th wing back and a 5th center back. Like, it's too much.
Well, what makes it even more confusing is the fact that in the last window, Weah played in that position. Why so many outside backs that play that, in particular right backs, right? Because, and then you can say, okay, well, if you're taking that many on the right, and then you could be thinking, well, maybe he was thinking that he'll use Dest on the left side if he needs them. But you also have Arfston on the left side, so you don't really need them. So it's a little bit confusing. But I have to say, it just goes along the lines of everything we've seen for the last year and a half.
Honestly, Tap, I don't want to. I'm going to ISO that back to you. Like, explain. He called up 71 players in the calendar year 2025. That's insane.
It's too many. But now, and this is a little bit what starts to worry me, right? Because now we're starting to think, because we're going to have to start playing with, okay, what's the lineup now? Are we in a 3-5-2 sort of? That's what we looked at. If you look at, Pulisic as that second guy, and now are we looking at McKinney as the guy next to Adams? Because I can't see it any other way unless he's seeing Roldan in that position or he's seeing Berhalter in that position, which, by the way, again, I will say it again, deserving of going, but I think sort of backups as you get into maybe a second round and you start, meeting more important teams. I have a little bit of trouble putting this together and making it make sense to me at this point.
So Tab, the other side of my, you brought too many defenders is one of those spots should be Tanner Tessmann or Aidan Morris. Weston McKennie in this setup has to be the starter next to Tyler Adams. And I think he's best when he is playing as an attacking midfield in this setup, because if you're playing the 3-4-2-1, to get the best out of him and Adams, he's got to be further forward. And then you put a Tanner Tessmann and Aidan Morris. Well, on this team, it's going to be a Berhalter or Roldan next to him. But if McKennie isn't being viewed as the partner next to Adams rather than in front of Adams, that's probably why you only bring 4. Unless Malik Tillman is playing back there. But he's been on the record, he hates playing deeper in that spot. So it's just a surprise to me at how quickly it could get thin. I would have probably said this no matter what because of how much I rate Tyler Adams. But particularly so now, if he doesn't play literally every single minute, this team is in real trouble. And then moving forward on the field, talking about surprises. Actually, let me say, poor Aidan Morris, right? I feel bad for all of the guys who were the last cuts.
Yep.
But in particular, because Aidan Morris finds out on Friday, like everybody else, that was just the timing. The next morning or the next afternoon in England, he's playing in the promotion playoff final with Middlesbrough.
And by the way, he ran the show. He ran the show.
He's been really good for Borough.
Yeah.
And Like just to reset this, because I don't want to make it incendiary or like I'm saying just because he went to England that he definitely deserves to be on the roster before Roldan and Berhalter. But if you're Aidan Morris, he went to Borough the first time he had a chance. Even let's look at his teammate Max Arfston. Max Arfston has ambitions to go to Europe. Max Arfston signed a new contract to get a well-deserved pay raise, but that's going to make it harder for him to leave. Aidan Morris didn't do that, or his contract was up earlier, so he had a smaller extension. And then he went to Europe. Roldan didn't. Berhalter hasn't yet. His contract's up at the end of the year. Maybe he will. I don't blame either one of them, by the way. If you're Cristian Roldan, you will have more importance and will make more money playing for a very, very good Seattle Sounders team. Berhalter, let's see what happens. But he's in a fantastic spot with the Vancouver Whitecaps. But Aidan Morris is like, I could have stayed in Columbus and made more money. And would that have made it better for me to make the team? Like, he's like, I want to be clear. It's not like I spoke to him. This is more just the assumption of, I'm playing every week for Middlesbrough, a very good championship team. I was almost named captain this year. What more can I possibly do? So it's very, very tough. And then Tab, for Diego Luna, he appeared in 17 of the 18 USMNT games in 2025. He was a culture setter in addition to everything else. I understand, if it ended up being him versus Zendejas, I get it. Like, you can talk into that. It's just incongruent decision-making process from the coaching staff that leaned on him so much and publicly spoke about him as not just somebody important on the field. He's a culture setter, the broken nose moment. He's got big balls, like that quote from Poch. Like, for him to not be selected in a 26-man roster is a shock.
Yeah, I think that hurts a little bit because I will say this about that, about Luna not being selected. If you recall, the day of the broken nose, he was the guy that made us think back to past national teams. We for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been talking about how this team, although it's a great team, we have excellent players, they all play on big clubs, it lacked a little bit of that American spirit, right? And I think Luna had that, and Luna helped Pochettino bring that back. And I think by not selecting him to this roster, I think he was not as loyal to Luna as Luna was to him. And that's unfortunate because Luna, I think in a way, we were all rooting for Luna to make the team because he sort of brought that American spirit back.
And this poor kid, man, I still don't understand how he got cut from the Olympic team, but pretty much the last cut on the Olympic team and pretty much the last cut on the World Cup squad, it really hurts. And by the way, I'm just throwing out information I'm not saying that he deserved to make it ahead of Reyna or Tillman necessarily, but Poch has always said, I don't care where you're playing, I just care that you're playing and you're playing well. In this calendar year, well, first of all, he's had more minutes for his club, like in league play, in MLS. He didn't debut until March because of an injury. From March till May, he played more minutes than Gio Reyna played in the Bundesliga from August until May. For Malik Tillman, since March 1st, Diego Luna has played double the amount of minutes. And again, I'm good with Reyna and Tillman being there, and we're going to talk about that more in the next segment. But for all of the, if you're Diego Luna, you did everything that the coach asked you to, and you proved it in camps, you proved it with your club. And he's, again, one of, I think, 3 players in particular, him, Morris, and Tessmann, being like, there's not really anything more that I could have done. Maybe for Tessmann and Morris play better in March, right? But nobody played well in March. Those were 2 really bad performances. So I feel for those guys. But we need to take a really quick break. We're coming up next. We're going to break down position by position, talk about the tournament management theory, game theory, whatever it is. We'll be right back. But please rate, review, and subscribe to Inside American Soccer with Tom Bogert and Tab Ramos, wherever you get your podcast. Welcome back to Inside American Soccer. Again, we've got the reported 26-man roster that will not be officially revealed until Tuesday, but myself and Paul Tenori at The Athletic, as well as Pablo Mara and Jeff Reuter at The Guardian, have put this out, and we feel pretty good about it, barring anything that have changed. So let's talk about this roster. Let's go position by position. Goalkeepers, we haven't talked about them at all. Matt Freese, Matt Turner, Chris Brady. I want to say, we started the show by me giving a little bit into my process. one of the things that I heard, and I've talked to enough people that I wasn't the only one to hear this, there was a rumor going around the week before the roster was conveyed to the players. It's like, is Matt Turner, like, have you heard Matt Turner might not be on the team? Like, that was a hot, like, kind of buzz going around. Obviously, that was nothing that I reported because it wasn't anything that ended up being true, but I thought that was very odd and would have been a shock if he didn't make the team. What I was told is the rationale would have been, we believe in Matt Freese. We don't want it to be a 1A, 1B thing. We're just going with Matt Freese. But I get tabbed. That would have been dumb to leave Matt Turner off for that reason. Matt Turner is a backup. Chris Brady, I think, deserves to be the third, but Matt Freese is going into this camp as a starter.
So we believe in Matt Freese, the guy that didn't play the last window. That's a little bit what we're talking about, right? The guy that doesn't play all the time. But no, I think the top two guys in this, obviously Freese and Turner, were really a no-brainer. And I didn't think that would change. Although we're surprised all the time. I am hoping that now we have Matt Freese and we don't have to worry about that for the next, hopefully 3, 4, 5, 6 games or more.
Yeah, we'll see. I would have thought the same about Turner from 2022. I will say though, Turner's has led MLS in all the shot stopping metrics, like the goals minus expected goals, stuff like that. This is what he was in New England before he went to Europe. Like, he's just an elite shot stopper, and it's cool to see him rediscover that. Center backs, Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, Miles Robinson. Tab, I pretty much gave my whole spiel at the top that I just think that there's too many center backs. My couple notes here is, again, Richards, going to be fine. That's what we've been told. That's what Paul Tenorio's reported that as well. I believe his agent even kind of came out and said that publicly too. Miles Robinson, he, like Luna, they were just holding him out this weekend for FC Cincinnati out of an abundance of caution. But he hasn't played 90 minutes since early March. I think that's a bit of a concern at this point, but obviously U.S. Soccer feels good about where he is physically. That'll be fine. But any further thoughts on the center backs?
No, not really. Just what you just mentioned about Miles Robinson. Normally center backs aren't held out for precautionary reasons. And it's been surprising that it's not just one game. We've seen this now for a little while, and as you said, since March. So yeah. I'm surprised, and this may be the reason. Obviously, Coach always has a reason for selecting who he selects. It's not like Mauricio Pochettino and his staff are winging it. So there's got to be a little bit. I feel there's got to be a little bit of a concern for Miles Robinson's fitness. So when you add Miles Robinson and then Richards, potentially not being 100%, then you can see why the extra defender probably is selected.
Outside back / wing backs, Anthony Robinson and Max Arfson on the left, Serginho Dest, Alex Freeman, Joe Scally on the right. Alex Freeman has shown he could play as that like right-sided center back / right back position out of possession, that kind of elbow back that Pochettino has used, which I didn't know he had in his game because he's so good at going forward, particularly with Orlando City. He was an attack-minded wingback. So that was cool versatility. And then Joe Scally, he's been somebody who has been able to play as like a right-sided center back in a back three or a stay-at-home fullback in a back four. But again, we've got 5 options for these positions, though. If it is the 3-4-2-1 that we expect it to be, Scally, for me, is under the center back group, not the outside back group.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. The fact that, there's no question we're deep in that position if we want to look at it that way, because on this roster, we have 4 players that can play that position, starting with Weah, who, obviously he plays wide for Marseille, and this is, and he played in that position during the last window. So we have 4 options for that position.
Central midfield that we talked about in the first segment, but again, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Cristian Roldan, Sebastian Berhalter. It's Adams, and I guess McKennie's partnering him, and I'm not sure that's the best use for the both of them because, again, McKennie is best when he has not a free role, but he has the ability to roam and create action. I think that's where he's been his best for Juventus as well as the national team, and again, he's had his best season ever. I don't want him to be kind of tied down to, hey, hold the fort. Be like, again, I think Morris and Tessmann do that better. Roldan as well. Berhalter is a little bit more like McKennie in terms of like when he has the ability to kind of have free range and free roam. Tyler Adams, one of his superpowers, the first is defensive transition and just ground covering and blowing up anything like that. His ground covering and winning the ball back is excellent. His other superpower for me is when he's with a stay-at-home type of 6 next to him and he gets to go hunt out of possession. He gets to help lead the press. when it's Adams and McKinney, Adams has to stay home. So you're taking away one of the things he's great at.
Yeah, and there's almost not another possibility there, right? Unless he's thinking of starting Roldan. Roldan would be the only one that potentially could free up Tyler Adams to get to get out of, let's say, his position. But you said it absolutely right about McKinney and Berhalter on the other side. If those are going to be, if that's going to be an 8 position, not like a double 6, if that's an 8 position, obviously I think, I would have used the same exact word that you use, which is roam. That's what he does. That's what McKinney likes to do. That's what he's good at. And, we've said it on this show before where, McKinney is really good at coming from behind and getting into the box. And I think if he plays this deep, I just think he won't be able to do that. And that's I believe, one of his best qualities.
Me too. That's what, we're going to talk about the lineup after, but that role of playing underneath the forward or more of an 8.5 because he's not a true 10 because that's not how he plays, but he does so many things well. You look at where Juventus have used him all over the pitch, even as a false 9, or I guess not even a false 9. It was just, hey, you're really good in the air. Why don't you try playing forward for us? And he did that pretty well too. So I don't think that there's anything on the field that he can't do. Maybe we'll toss him some gloves if the emergency comes. Attacking midfielders: Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, Malik Tillman, Gio Reyna, who we haven't talked about much yet, Brendan Aronson, Alex and Dejas. Reyna, again, he's looked pretty good for Mönchengladbach, albeit coming off the bench over the last 5 league games to close out the Bundesliga season. He can give you something special off the bench. Maybe he'll play more minutes. Who knows? But the idea, or even the hypothetical ceiling, if Gio Reyna can be some of the moments he showed leading into the 2022 World Cup, that would be an absolute asset to this team.
Yeah, in particular, because I think, the first round games, although I think we're the favorites in probably most of the games, in particular, I think Paraguay and Australia games, I think it's good to know that, Gio Reyna has been playing the last 30 minutes of games basically for the last 5 games, and that he can give you a solid 20, 30 minutes and come and potentially make plays that are going to win the game.
Malik Tillman has not been discussed much. He started the last Bundesliga game of the season for Leverkusen. Before that, he completely lost his spot in the starting lineup. I know that they've been in a bit of turmoil. Leverkusen does not spend big money on players. They invested a large sum of what they got for Florian Wirtz on Malik Tillman. It hasn't been a good season for him at the club level. I think that makes it difficult to see him maybe necessarily as a starter, but Tab, it's tough to predict anything with this coaching staff, and maybe he starts the first game, the first friendly. Maybe he plays well, or maybe somebody else starts and they play poorly, and all of a sudden he's starting against Paraguay. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, I think when you look at the roster and you look at the midfielders that we have, I think he'll get a chance. In the friendlies,
for sure.
And if he gets that chance and he does well, I think we can forget about whatever happened at the club. There's no question that Tillman is a good player and he can make a difference for us. So hopefully, hopefully he gets it going in the friendly games and is a starter by World Cup time.
Very happy for Brendan Aronson, who I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and he said this was what he believed to be his best season ever. Definitely the most rewarding season as well. He didn't have to come back to Leeds. He did last year. The fans hated him. They were in the championship, and he said, I have unfinished business here. He came back, won the fans back over, and Leeds very comfortably for them at least, survived the drop and are staying in the Premier League. Large part, Brendan Aronson, he played more games than anybody in the team. He played 37 out of 38, I believe. Just what a season for him. Another great season for Alex and Dejas for Club America. Tab, when you did our official roster projection, you had Zendejas in. I tried to politely say I don't think it's even really possible, but I'd like it. And you were right.
Yeah, it's good to be right every once in a while. It just seemed like, I was thinking of Zendejas, just like the other players in those positions, they're good connectors in between lines, but I think Zendejas is a little bit more special in the sense that he can find the goal and he can score goals. And I think there isn't another player like him in those positions. And so I think it's a good selection and well-deserved.
I agree. With Pulisic left out of the starting lineup in a game AC Milan had to have to qualify for the Champions League. Breaking news, they did not have the game. And they missed out on Champions League, which is a disaster given that they already were not in Europe this year. They had the advantage of not having midweek games. They started off really strong. And by the end of the season, Pulisic's drought became so impactful that they didn't start him. They didn't start Rafa Leao in that final game either. Santi Jimenez, the Mexican striker, started. He made history, becoming the first ever forward in Serie A to start 10 games, at least 10 games, and not score a goal. So, tough end of the season for Pulisic.
Yeah, and I was watching the game actually, and to be fair, Milan should have lost by a lot more goals than just 2-1. That the goalkeeper was standing on his head to keep him in the game. It was not a good showing for Milan. They were in a bad decline the last 2-3 months as a team. Let's forget, Pulisic's form as a team. They were just not in a good place, and they were just dropping. Where if the season kept going now, they would go into the middle into the middle of the table because they're just not. I mean, they ended the season probably in the worst form they had all year.
Christian Pulisic, 12 more months left on his contract. We'll see what happens this summer after the World Cup. But center forwards, Balogun, who's been in fantastic form, but Ricardo Pepi scoring goals as always for PSV, and Haji Wright, who's going to the Premier League with Coventry City. Balogun, his goal-scoring form is going to be, I think, extraordinarily important for this team at the World Cup. But I want to highlight Ricardo Pepi for a second. He was one of, if not the absolute last person cut from the last World Cup squad in 22. He makes it now for 26.
Yeah, very happy for him because I remember after the 22 World Cup saying that that's the one player that I was most disappointed for because I thought he deserved to go at the time. But of course, like I said before, there's likely always 30, 35 players that deserve to go. Someone, unfortunately, gets caught in the end, and it's really difficult because it sticks with you. But now he made this team, so he can forget about 22, and I'm happy to see him go.
Let's talk about a few big picture questions that come out when we have this roster. So, Tab, based on this group that has been called, what does this tell you about Mauricio Pochettino and the staff and kind of how they want to play going into the World Cup?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it'd be hard to not think, when I took the roster and I started to put lineups together, it's hard for me to, number one, think how we wouldn't be playing with 3 center backs, right? So we're really pretty much looking at playing what I would call a 5-3-2. Or if you wanted to call it a 3-4-3, but the bottom line is we have to play with 3 center backs, and I think that's what's happening here. We have, I think, regardless of what the selection is in terms of the outside backs, I think we have good ones on either side, and I think
and good and different profiles too, which I really like.
And we can really hurt teams with those guys, so really important that we play those 3 center backs, and I think that's what it showed. And then the other thing is that obviously he relies on Tyler Adams being the stay-at-home number 6, likely by himself. And so having 3 center backs that covers the middle, having Tyler Adams right in front of them, now you have 4 guys that are always covering the middle, and you're giving a little bit more on the outside. But that's sort of what it looks like at the moment. Obviously, we can go through the rest of the lineup, but that's the first. If I had my first impression of, okay, you have this is the full selection. What are you seeing? I have to say that I'm seeing 5 across the back.
Yeah, I think so too. When I look at this roster, I think of there is a lot of unplanned things, or you can try to plan based on the profiles that you put in the roster. So, what is the optionality and the versatility of okay, either we're chasing a game with 30 minutes left to go when we're playing a team like Paraguay or Australia that we're expected to have more possession. What do we do if it's the game against Turkey or in the knockout rounds when maybe we're not going to have more than half of possession? When you look at the different profiles that we talked about already about it at wingback, but as well as the attacking midfielders and all of the what are the different combinations that Pochettino can go to in different scenarios?
Well, I would have to say, and let's just say let's predict what's going to happen in the first game. First game, we're going into the last maybe 20, 25 minutes, and now we're in a tied game. And we need to win it. So you have the option of bringing Gio Reyna because we just talked about him being to connect lines, or you have the option. Whereas if you really have to win a game, you could potentially put Way at the right wing and play out of let's say like a 3-3-4. right? So you keep your three center backs at home. You keep three in the middles with let's say that's Adams, McKinney, and potentially either Tillman or you brought in Reyna, right? So now you have five waiting and you have five attacking. And in the five attacking, you would put maybe Reyna a little bit behind. And then now you have the opportunity of having, Wea on the right, you have Pepe and Balogun in the middle, and you can have Pulisic on the left, or you can have Pulisic come into the 10th spot and put Haji right on the left. So it gives you a lot of opportunity to get balls into the box and to have both Pepe and Balogun in the game at the same time.
Yeah, like we said it earlier, you can't plan for, if who might pick up an injury or who might, get yellow card accumulation. Thankfully, yellow card accumulation is a higher barometer. The cards wipe earlier, easier, but still it's not that difficult to pick up a couple yellow cards in the group stage and miss a game. But if Tyler Adams is not available for literally any minute, I don't like this team. I could probably have said that no matter who else was on the roster, because of how good I think he is and how irreplaceable I think he is. Similar could be said for Richards and maybe Pulisic and Balogun, but there are just a lot of different options in attack. It's difficult to kind of plan for Tyler Adams or Chris Richards missing literally even a minute.
Right, and I think at this point there's really no need to plan for that because I think we have to go with our best guys and play them the whole time, and that's really what the World Cup is about. We've, you and I have been saying this for a long time now. This is going to be, 14, 15, 16 players that will really lead us into wherever, right? And so obviously Tyler Adams is a very important one at that, and he will play a significant role. And by the way,
let's take one quick
before you go to the break, who's going to be the captain of this team? Do we know that yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, we don't. Tyler Adams was the captain in 22. He has not won the armband one single time under Mauricio Pochettino. I don't understand why. I think that there is a leadership. That he's a leader. Pulisic is a leader. Richards, Anthony Robinson in his own ways. But McKinney, obviously part of that group. I want to see the armband on Tyler Adams. Tim Ream has worn it most under Pochettino, so maybe he's going to be that guy. But I don't know. For me, it's just weird to me that he hasn't worn the armband. What do you think, Tab?
I agree with you. I think Adams is the guy because I think you want a personality with your captain, and not that Richards couldn't do it. Right. I think he can, but I think Adams is the right guy because you want guys following that attitude on the field.
Couldn't agree more. So let's take that quick break. Next up, we're going to give our projected starting 11s for the Senegal friendly. That's right. United States are playing in less than a week to kick off preparations for the World Cup with a friendly against Senegal. So thank you for listening to Inside American Soccer. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to Inside American Soccer. Again, we've got the reported 26-man roster from myself, Paul Tenorio, as well as the Guardians, Pablo Maurer, Jeff Ruder, that we broke down and discussed. It's going to be officially unveiled on Tuesday, and it will be locked in on June 1st when the United States and all other countries submit their official final rosters to FIFA. Before June 1st, the United States has their first friendly before the World Cup. They are playing Senegal on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Charlotte. Senegal are the reigning AFCON champions. I don't care if lawyers are trying to take it away and give it to Morocco. I know what I saw. Senegal lifted the trophy. Senegal still has the trophy. I believe that they gave it to their armed forces as pretty much like come and take it if you want to try to take it. Senegal are the AFCON champions. They are a very, very good team. For me, Tab, I'm very curious what this lineup is going to be. Senegal obviously doesn't play like Paraguay or Australia or Turkey. All the teams are different, but there isn't a lot of overlap, particularly with Paraguay in that first game. Well, the United States plays Germany in Chicago a few days later. There's no overlap with Germany to some of these teams either. So what I want to see and what I hope to see is Pochettino and his staff are going to put out what they believe to be who's going to start that first World Cup opening game against Paraguay. But Tab, you never really know if that's what's going to happen because he changed the lineup every game.
Yeah, and they're quite, as you said, they're quite different, right? If you look at Senegal and what we're going to find against Paraguay, because Senegal, let's not forget they have Mane, Nicholas Jackson, Sarr, guy coming from behind. I mean, this is the ultimate transition team, and they can get you. They're a very good team, and I think we'll have a tough time defending. Of course, as I put the lineup together, as we always say, let's try to figure out what Pochettino is going to do, not what I'd like to do. So I'll give it a shot. I'll give a shot at the lineup. I think we're going to have three center backs in this game. And because of the injuries and maybe some guys not being 100%, this is what I think we probably do the first game. I think I'm going to say that he's going to go with Freeman at the right center back spot, McKenzie in the center, and Ream on the left side. I think that's how he'll start the Senegal game. And the reason for that is Richards will be coming off, obviously he's been injured, but also coming off the final. So it's likely that he gets a rest the first game. So I don't think he'll play.
Good point.
But that's what I'm thinking. If Richards were to play, then Richards goes right into the middle. And I think McKenzie goes on that left side. And then Ream would be out.
So, okay, interesting. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I should have said that off the top. Again, Palace play Rayo Vallecano on Wednesday, May 27th in the Conference League final. This game is Sunday the 31st. Chris Richards is hoping to be able to play in that game with his injury. But again, Tab, if he plays that game, you're right. Maybe I'd be surprised. And obviously, he's going to be in the lineup against Paraguay if he's available to play. So that's interesting. Again, you have Freeze and goal, right? And then that trio in defense.
Yeah.
So back three, continue on.
Yeah. And I forgot the goalkeeper as usual. Thank you for that. I think I agree that it will be Freeze. On the right side, I think he's going to go with Weah. Although we have obviously Mane to deal on that side, on that side, I think having three center backs and having a little bit of help. Hopefully, we learned from the experience against Doku in the last window when we played Belgium. Mane at this point is not at the same level as Doku is right now, but nevertheless, obviously, he's one of the great players in the world, and he'll be hard to deal with. But I think he'll go with Weah on that side. I think he'll go with Robinson on the opposite side. In the middle of the field, I have to say that I don't know if I'm hopeful, but I'm thinking that he may do this. I'm gonna say that Adams will be the holding six with McKinney and Tillman sort of switching that 8 role when one goes, one stays. I like that. And then up top, it'll be Pulisic and Balogun.
I have a very similar team. Go Freeze in goal. I would put McKenzie. Well, actually, reminding my own self about Richards. McKenzie in the middle. Alex Freeman, right center back. Tim Ream, left center back. If this is a game that Richards was available to play, I would probably drop Freeman from the lineup, move McKenzie over to right center back with Richards in the middle. But anyway, Freeze, Freeman, McKenzie, and Ream. Wing back, the midfield 4, would go Serginho Dest at right wing back, McKennie and Adams in the middle, Anthony Robinson on the left, and then the attacking trio would be Balogun up top with Pulisic and Weah underneath.
Oh, very good. I mean, I like that too. I like that because Weah gives you something a lot different than Tillman in that position. Weah gives you, Weah can get to the end line and can provide that speed on the counter that, that Tillman doesn't really, it's not his thing. That's not what he does. And so, yeah, that seems like it could be as well. And putting Dest as a starter, obviously, I think he's our best right back. But I'm just trying to read what Pochettino is thinking, and having played Weah both games on the last window, I'm thinking maybe that's what he's thinking for the World Cup. So, but yeah, that could be as well.
I do like the combo of Weah and Dest because, like you said, like Weah can get to the end line, like the verticality and the intelligence of his off-ball movement is good. But you have Dest, who like Anthony Robinson on the left. What he's great at is end line to end line overlapping. He stays in that kind of widest channel. Dest is very creative. He can pinch in. So when you have Weah can naturally stay wide. Whereas on the left, you have Pulisic, who obviously you want him to cut in. You want him to have the whole field in front of him. And then that lends really nicely when it's Anthony Robinson and him, because Anthony Robinson fills that widest channel. Whereas on the right, it could be a situation where Dest pinches in to the half space, whereas Weah is the one staying widest and giving the verticality. So I think there are a lot of options. Like, I wouldn't be surprised in any way if Malik Tillman starts. Don't even listen. Let me say this: I wouldn't be surprised if pretty much anybody on the 26-man roster starts. If maybe he says, you know what, I'd rather this be the game where I give Turner a game in goal and Miles Robinson, let's see how fit you are. Austin Trusty, what do you like going on Roldan and Berhalter, right? Like, I hope that it's the first choice 11, but maybe he'll save that for Germany. I honestly don't know. I would like to see both. I think that these players are at a stage where they can play a good amount of minutes. Maybe not all of the starters going 180 minutes, but I think it's for me more valuable to see some of these guys and particularly the combinations they're in. But Tab, who knows?
To be fair, I like your lineup better for the Paraguay game because I think Des is extremely unpredictable. I mean, he doesn't know what he's doing next. And that's a sign. And by the way, that's a sign of good players. That's what they do. The creative players, they don't know what they're doing next. So you can't coach that. But because of that, I think that Des can create his own plays and his own danger, like on his own, whereas Weah is more of a team player. He's going to be making the run that you see, and you're going to get him the ball right behind, or he's going to be taking somebody on 1v1 down the line and getting across in a lot more predictable. Des, you just don't know. He could cut inside and shoot. He can go into midfield and help, or he can stay wide and dribble. So I think Des would be a great option for the Paraguay game.
Always looking forward to it. Listen, we've been, since our very first episode, Tab, this is the time that we've been talking about when the roster comes out and the camp commences ahead of the World Cup. This is historic times. This is what kids will be growing up talking about the 2026 World Cup and how special it was maybe. They'll be talking about their memories from this tournament. Some of these players are going to become heroes and be looking up for the next generation. I can't wait. We are here, Tab, finally. Listen, thank you for listening to Inside American Soccer. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back on Sunday, sometime around then, Sunday or Monday, with a reaction show after the Senegal match. The games are here. Training's coming. Maybe we'll see if there's any surprises from this roster reveal on Tuesday night. But if not, we'll talk to you all again very, very soon.